We are here. We are here. Oops, no, we are not in the lab. We're not in the lab. We're not even in JL. We're not in Justice League headquarters. We're not in Justice League headquarters. We're just in the regular headquarters right now. We're in the regular headquarters right now. This is, again, another segment of Ron Tell That. Glad to have you all with us. We say share, share, share. And this time of the year, actually, this time of the year, a couple of times of the year, we're not dealing with what we call fellowship, family, friends, fun, and food. That's what's going on. You got several celebrations happening. And for some people, it's tied to Busk, the green corn celebration of Native people. Again, they have their harvest celebrations that our people engage in also. We understand about harvest celebrations because y'all know y'all doing it in your head in the terrace, in your houses of God. So you're doing that right now, harvest celebrations. And so again, we pay homage to the Native people right here in this area and beyond who helped make it possible for us to be here like African people. So again, we got the Busk, the green corn celebrations, all that. But then also some other things. Y'all know the other holidays in November, December, and also in January. Y'all know those holidays. And so, but some are going to say, like on that Thursday in November, you had a holiday for it. But guess what? Our brother, we give honor to our brother, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Y'all heard me? Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, our brother, who used to be right here with us and have us travel with him to do programs. He came up with a celebration that on that Thursday called Jiyame. Jiyame was done first time, 1995. That's when Khalid comes up with the celebration. He comes up with the celebration 1995, but the first celebration is held in Cleveland, Ohio, 1997. Jiyame, which again comes from the Dinka word, Dinka symbols tied to accept the Most High, accept God. Again, God has seen it all, except no one else has seen it except for God. God has always been here. And so that celebration Khalid came up with for us to now as an alternative to the celebration that people do on that Thursday. But then also, December 25th was another celebration that was done by the people also, by our people, African people, December 25th. Now, some of y'all going to scream out Christmas. No, we're not talking about Christmas. John Canoe. In the northern part of the Gullah Geechee area, at least in the northern part of the Gullah Geechee area, we know up there in Beaufort, Edenton, Wilmington, we know right there they were celebrating John Canoe. Now, some of y'all hear John Canoe, you're going to think about the Caribbean. You think about the Caribbean, you think about the Bahamas, you think about Jamaica, you think about Trinidad, places like Belize even, in Central America. You think about those places, but not realizing in the northern part of the Gullah Geechee area, we also celebrated John Canoe. Yeah. And it went on in the northern part of the Gullah Geechee area up until the Wilmington riots. That's another story for another day, another time. So again, bam, December 25th. Then January 1st, again, I know what some of y'all going to say about that. January 1st, and January 1st, y'all going to say New Year's Day. Bam, no, we're going to say that is IET. Soup Jamal. That's when we drink. That's when we eat. We have the pumpkin soup. The pumpkin soup on that day, January 1st, 1804. The first African Republic in the world is born. That's Yeye Ayiti. Mother Haiti is born on that day. So we celebrate Yeye Ayiti. We celebrate Haiti January 1st. And so as I said, it's some other alternative holidays and celebrations that we got. And so now with us, for African Americans, we do gather during this time period because it's about family. It's about commitment. It's about unity. It's about us coming together, even in the face of what has gone on. We understand the experiences of other people, but we also acknowledge our own experience and go and celebrate and cleave together as a family, because that's what happened during the time of that period when they did that Thanksgiving. Then when they did that also during the times of Jim Crow and segregation, we still came together and make some stuff happen for us collectively. And then during that day on December 25th, it was a way for people to come together also, January 1st also. And so some of y'all probably said, what about Watch Night? Watch Night, because we know when it comes down to December 31st, 1862, December 31st, 1862, that's when you had the sexton and all the others right there in the terrace, in the house of God with regards to Watch Night. So again, counting on down. And so with regards, again, as I said, this Run Tell That is about the food. We're going to deal with the fellowship. We're going to deal with the fellowship and the food. Right now today, some of us do different things. We got, we have these alternatives. So, you have alternatives with regard to some of these celebrations. And so that's what we got, some of it right now. And so you have celebrations that, because alternative. They have like, hey, tortillas, other stuff like that. Part of the food. Yes, my mama and daddy and grandmama and granddaddy told me not to talk with food in my mouth, but we're doing this right now. And then some of these alternatives. So also, they don't want some of the sugary drinks, so they want the water. So food. And this one right here is going to pertain to some of us on January 1st also.
Have you ever wondered why black-eyed peas are considered lucky, or why we eat black-eyed peas at all? Well, today we're going to talk about the history of African Americans and black-eyed peas. Domesticated in Western Africa around 3000 BC, the birthplace of this legume known as the black-eyed pea. The lush valleys and rural villages near the Lake Chad Basin in what is now Nigeria and northern Cameroon. These early Western African civilizations, black-eyed peas was more than a crop. It was a crucial part of daily life and culture, revered and cherished by the people who cultivated it. Black-eyed peas is a shelling bean, a subspecies of the cowpea. It's a type of bean enclosed in a long green pod. And despite the harsh environmental conditions where it grew, black-eyed peas flourished. It became a staple of their diet and provided them with much-needed nourishment as it began to spread across the globe. During communal feasts, traditional ceremonies, black-eyed peas took center stage. Lively celebrations with family and friends gathered around, the air rich with the aroma of okara, which is a savory fritter made from black-eyed peas. Each bite is a testament to a shared heritage. This simple legume was woven into the very fabric of life while in Western Africa. Black-eyed peas don't have this folkloric connection to money, were often associated with good luck. One belief held the distinction that if the pea could ward off the evil eye, a malevolent spell cast by one's enemies. They were also eaten during special occasions. Take Good Friday, for instance. Families in parts of Western Africa would traditionally enjoy a creamy cowpea coconut custard dish called a frijan. In some Western African religions, black-eyed peas are prepared as offerings to deities on ceremonial days because it's believed to be their favorite food. However, this story takes a dark turn. During the transatlantic slave trade, Africans were torn from their homeland. Enslaved Africans were forced onto ships, but they held on to their cultural roots as tightly as they could. Among those roots was the black-eyed pea. Upon arriving in plantations in the American South, the enslaved Africans planted the pea in unfamiliar soil, seeking a connection to their lost heritage. Those peas, much like the enslaved Africans, were resilient. They flourished in rugged conditions and became a crucial part of their diet. Boiled, mashed, Tossed in stews, black-eyed peas provided essential nutrients that helped them sustain through their grueling labor. Soon, black-eyed peas became a significant part of Southern culture. Embraced by enslaved people, it was eventually adopted by their white enslavers. It became known as the poor man's meat due to its nutritious qualities. The resilience of these little legumes symbolized the endurance and adaptability of the people who depended on them. But this doesn't explain how black-eyed peas came to be associated with New Year's Day. The tradition of eating black-eyed peas on New Year's Day is steeped in history and some cultural lore. It all began ironically in Western Europe, where New Year's Day customs included a practice known as first footing. According to Ralph Whitlock's book, The Search for Lost Gods, A Guide to British Folklore, the first person to step within the threshold of a home on New Year's Day morning needed to be dark-haired, which is believed to bring good luck. Often the person would bring gifts, coal, and bread, which symbolized the wish for the house to be abundant in fuel and food throughout the coming year. People believed that whatever happened on the first day, good or bad, would set the tone for the rest of the year. Over time, the tradition evolved, especially in the American South. Instead of requiring a dark-haired stranger to knock on the door, people began to place black-eyed peas on their table. Enslaved Africans blended their own cultural beliefs with those of European settlers, influencing this change because black-eyed peas was already considered lucky in Western Africa. But there's also a story behind how black-eyed peas began to symbolize luck in the southern United States, and it's linked to the Civil War, specifically Sherman's March to the Sea in 1864. Major William Tecumseh Sherman led a brutal campaign from Atlanta to Savannah, determined to cripple the Confederate war effort. His troops left a path of destruction, stripping households of food supplies and livestock. As Southern families emerged from hiding, they faced the grim reality of starvation. In this despair, a particular form of salvation emerged. Union troops, deeming black-eyed peas only fit for livestock, left silos of them behind. This forgotten pea provided crucial nourishment for numerous Southerners, providing a vital food source in the aftermath of Sherman's scorched earth strategy. This fortunate discovery led to a new tradition, along with that of enslaved Africans, of eating black-eyed peas on New Year in the hopes of garnering good luck for the coming year. After the Civil War, freed African Americans faced the monumental task of rebuilding their lives. Despite oppression, they found strength in the shared culinary practices, with black-eyed peas continuing to play a central role. Beyond the historical context, black-eyed peas also hold a special place in culinary traditions because they resemble coins. These peas were believed to bring monetary prosperity when consumed during New Year's celebrations. This belief, rooted in African customs, was passed down through generations and blended with Southern culinary practices. The legacy of these traditions continues in dishes like Hoppin' John, which typically features black-eyed peas, cooked with rice, pork, and spices. This is a dish that melds African cooking techniques along with Southern ingredients, symbolizing a blend of old and new worlds and reminding us of perseverance of those who came before us. Later, during the Great Migration, when millions of African Americans moved from the South to urban areas in the North, they once again took those culinary traditions with them. The black-eyed pea found its way to kitchens, Harlem, Chicago, and Detroit, symbolizing a peaceful home and a source of comfort in this unfamiliar environment. In contemporary times, black-eyed peas are celebrated not just for their traditional role, but for their nutritional value. They have become a favorite ingredient in various dishes, from soul food to modern culinary experiments, illustrating the adaptability and enduring relevance of the humble legume. Today, preparing a pot of black-eyed peas is an act of cultural preservation and celebration. It connects generations. It allows people to recall the past and create new memories, whether enjoyed during family gatherings, community events, or quiet dinners. The humble black-eyed pea continues to tell a story of resilience, perseverance, and a shared heritage.
So, black-eyed peas, you got that. You got black-eyed peas, right? Black-eyed peas. So you heard that. Now run tell that. We gonna say run tell that and see that is part of the African experience. Again, we would call American cooking is actually African cooking. A large part of it is African cooking. Even what you call Latino and Hispanic cooking, it got that African component to it. But then also you heard something that is tied to when they came down to this area right here, Union forces coming down here. So again, tied to again this African experience here in coastal Georgia. So again, that's what I tell folks. Our tentacles of culture and history is throughout this entire area, but people don't realize it. Tied to Gullah Geechee people and what we going to do. And so the foodways tied to us now. I know some of y'all out there right now. Y'all gonna try to jump on me. Oh, excuse me, y'all ain't gonna jump on me. Y'all jump on other people. That when you talk about Hoppin' Johns, people get offended. They like Hoppin' Johns. You ain't supposed to use black eyed peas. But I tell folks, hold up, hold up. Yes, folks will use what's in their environment. Those things coming from Africa. So black eyed peas, as y'all heard, is tied to Africa. Some people try to throw it to Asia first, but then y'all heard, bam, it goes right there, going to Nigeria, going right there to Nigeria, going right there to Chad and all that. Our food, Nimbe. So that's our foodways, our tradition. And on New Year's, people are eating our traditions around this entire country, but not realizing that it's our history, our culture. So I say to black folks, one of the best ways that you can see your culture and history is through the food that you eat. And so again, we do that on Run Tell That. We're going to throw that on out there. The food that you're eating is our history and our culture. And so again, throw it out to some other people. Yes, we know you use the Sea Island peas, Sea Island peas or the field peas, the red peas. So again, to make your black eyed pea, to make your Hoppin' John, because our ancestors also said the red peas and red beans were good luck peas and beans. That's why, again, black eyed peas, field peas, red beans, red peas, Sea Island peas were good luck peas. That's why we eat Hoppin' Johns, New Year's. We're going to go to a break right now. We're going to come right back because we're going to still nam some more because we eating during this time of the year. But we didn't understand. It's tied to our history and our culture about who we are. This is Run Tell That. We say share on our black media.
Need your garments cleaned with care and with a professional touch? Then bring them to One Price Cleaners in Garden City at the Old Farmers Market on Highway 80. Service you can count on.
Oh, y'all just caught me eating some macaroni. Oh, macaroni from Kim's Cafe, 714 MLK Junior Boulevard. Oh my God, macaroni. Let me stop. Macaroni, history and culture tied to this time period too. I'm sorry, Kim's Cafe's macaroni. Oops, sorry.
Why do black folks love macaroni and cheese? Macaroni and cheese is one of the recipes that shaped American food culture. It has a rich history that dates all the way back to ancient Greece. But it's within the African American community where it's found a special status. Macaroni is dried, molded pasta traditionally made from wheat flour and water. This origins back to ancient Greece. The term macaroni comes from the Greek word for maker, meaning blessed. The pasta became an integral part of the Mediterranean diet and subsequently permeated its way to Greek, Roman, and Arabic cultures. However, the inclusion of cheese into the equation did not come into existence much later in Europe. First known recipes for a macaroni and pasta type dish was dehesanis, which required layering sheets of pasta with cheese and spices. It can be found in one of the oldest Middle-Aged cookbooks called The Form of Curry, which was compiled by cooks of England's King Richard II in the 14th century. However, a more recognizable form of the dish originated in Italy, where certain types of pastas and cheese in a casserole were documented all the way back to the 13th century Italian cookbook called Della de Cucina. But macaroni and cheese, as we know it, was introduced to the Americas by Thomas Jefferson. But he didn't cook the dish himself. During his tenure as an envoy in France, Thomas Jefferson enjoyed a similar type pasta dish in France, and he commissioned his enslaved black cook by the name of James Hemings to learn how to make it. James Hemings was the older brother of Sally Hemings, and also the half-brother of Jefferson's deceased wife. In 1784, when Hemings was just 19 years old, he traveled with Jefferson and his daughter to Paris. In Paris, James trained under different French chefs. Over the next 5 years, he became a master of French cooking and got particularly good at cooking macaroni pie. This was a creamy pasta dish that eventually turned into what we know as macaroni and cheese. Recipe involved using whatever cheese he had on hand, layering it in between buttered macaroni mixed with milk. He would then cook it in a Dutch oven, which he placed over a fireplace, and hot coals would be placed over the lid to bake the macaroni and cheese. Even though Hemings' crucial contribution to cooking and he was famous as a chef, he remained relatively unknown. This was because he was still enslaved under Thomas Jefferson until 1796, and he was one of only 2 slaves that Jefferson set free, and that was only under the condition that James would teach his younger brother Peter to take over in his place as Jefferson's cook of the household. Peter Hemings would then serve the dish at a state dinner in 1802, making it famous. Unfortunately for James, he would pass away at 36 in 1801, but Hemings' most important impact on American food culture was his introduction, macaroni and cheese. Adrian Miller, who was the author of Black Smoke, African American in the United States of Barbecue, explains about Hemings that its story is a metaphor for African American cooking and our experience in this country. It's the story of innovation and virtuosity. Often African American cooks get overlooked for our contributions and our accomplishments. In the early 19th century, the dish we call macaroni and cheese was primarily a food of the elite. This was because dried macaroni was not commonly accessible, and Americans didn't know how to make good quality pasta. In addition to this, Italian cheeses, which was a key ingredient in macaroni and cheese, was too expensive for most Americans. As the century progressed, the Industrial Revolution dramatically changed the accessibility and the popularity of mac and cheese in the United States. The production process in making macaroni and cheese became more affordable and more widely available, made it more popular with the lower classes. The establishment of the first cheese factories in this country amplified the production of cheddar cheese, which soon became the common ingredient in macaroni and cheese, thus making the meal even more suitable for poor communities. It was during this time we also see macaroni and cheese lose its Italian and French origins and become a more crucial part of Western cooking. For the African American community, after emancipation, the dish bore 2 distinct identities and varied in significance. One was a quick side dish for weekdays, and the other was a more elaborate meal celebrated for Sunday supper. It was during this time period that macaroni and cheese evolved in the South among African American communities and became what we know as baked macaroni and cheese. This dish was also based in hard times when the black community desired to dress up their macaroni and cheese, thus began a tradition of baking layers of macaroni and cheese. During the Great Migration, where African Americans moved from the South to northern industrial centers, this continued to spread in the popularity of macaroni and cheese, thus making it a well-known dish within the black community across the United States. Additionally, it was black women, first the enslaved, then later domestic workers, that were instrumental in the dish's trajectory. Their cooking skills and knowledge greatly impacted how the dish had evolved, reinforcing the role of black women in shaping American cuisine. With macaroni and cheese becoming a common dish among black families, it began to reflect the craft and ingenuity of these black women. Its importance within the culture was so high that sometimes a family member's approval was needed before it could be cooked for special occasions. In 1918, there was a Swiss invention that changed the food industry forever. It was processed cheese. Over the years, this innovation led to products we recognize even today, such as Kraft Singles, Easy Cheese, Powdered sauce that comes in the mac and cheese box, and of course Velveeta. This is when macaroni and cheese really took off. In 1937, Kraft launched its boxed macaroni and cheese. It was a cost-effective meal choice in one simple box. Priced for only 19 cents, it could feed a family of 4. Consumers responded strongly to the reliable, affordable meal option, and in just 1 year, Kraft sold 8 million boxes of boxed macaroni and cheese. During World War II, food rationing and tight domestic spending, this made Kraft boxed macaroni and cheese even more appreciated as a food staple. Shoppers found that they could purchase 2 boxes of macaroni and cheese with only 1 food stamp. It was during these years that boxed macaroni and cheese earned its reputation as American treasured comfort food. Macaroni and cheese became a reflection of the United States with its convenient packaging and industrialization. It was the ideal American food. Pasta and processed cheese were very cheap to make, it was easy to ship and store, and it was very filling. While African American families did opt for this cheaper, easier to make meal, they didn't relinquish the tradition of preparing baked macaroni and cheese from scratch for special occasions. Macaroni and cheese continued to be an essential part of family gatherings and special meals in the Black community, particularly during the holidays such as Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was considered more than an everyday comfort food. It was an integral part of celebratory feasts and cherished symbolic representation of the community's cohesion. While there are many ways to prepare this dish, there was a standardization of the recipe that happened in Black kitchens in the 50s when it is referred to as soul mac and cheese. This consists of macaroni, a substantial portion of cheese, butter, milk, often topped with breadcrumbs or cheese which is baked to achieve a golden crust. During the 60s, mac and cheese became an even more integral part of the community. It was a symbol of the community's strength and unity. During this time of the Civil Rights Movement, mac and cheese was a common dish at gatherings and meetings, and women who were referred to as movement mothers handed down coveted recipes and their techniques, and mac and cheese became to symbolize more than a comfort food. It stood as an emblem of community strength, unity, and resistance in the face of racial inequalities and systemic prejudices. That tradition continues today, with mac and cheese still being a significant part of Black cultural cuisine. Its ceremonial presence during the holidays and family gatherings and religious events goes beyond just a hearty pasta to a cultural icon that has ingrained itself in our shared history and identity. Despite the stereotypes and stigma that continue to categorize mac and cheese as an unhealthy soul food, mac and cheese continues to evolve in Black kitchens. Chefs keep adding their own twists to the classic recipe while respecting its historical importance. They continue to reinvent this comfort food and inserting their own personal.
And this right here from Kim's Cafe also, this is potato salad. Our traditions. We add to again these celebrations. Yah May, what you celebrate on Thursday, Christmas, John Canoe, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, all that. And again, traditions around us all the time. Our food with us, our history, our story. Okay. I know y'all saying I'm getting too much carbs, and all this. So we're gonna switch it up a bit. We're gonna get the vegetables in right now. We get the vegetables in right now. Vegetables tied to our story also.
Have you ever wondered why Black people love collard greens so much? Well, collard greens are a dark green leafy vegetable that's popular around the globe for their taste and a high concentration of vitamins A, C, and K. Collard greens are some of the oldest members of the cabbage family, also known as the tree cabbage. Originating in the Eastern Mediterranean, the name collard is derived from colwort, which means the cabbage plant. Despite their name, collard greens do not grow tight heads like cabbages. Indeed, they are part of the cabbage family, but they are more closely similar to kale. Collard greens were made popular in Europe by the Greeks and the Romans. Ancient Greeks grew kale and collard greens together and made little distinction between the two. Historians are unsure on whether or not Romans discovered greens through the Greeks or if they started growing them independently. When the Romans went on their conquest of what is now the United Kingdom, they introduced collard greens to European diets around the 4th century BC. Their introduction to Africa, however, comes long before transatlantic slave trade and became a dominant part of African people's diets, even to this day. Many countries in Africa, especially those in Eastern Africa, love the green leafy vegetable, which is known as sukuma wiki. Preparing the collard greens often involves boiling or steaming as they are served as accompaniments to either meat or fish. They can also be supportive ingredients in soups and stews or with other vegetables. After becoming a staple of European diets, collard greens were brought to the Americas by European settlers in the 17th century. This happened during a period known as the Columbian Exchange, which is an historical event involving the transfer of various goods, animals, plants, people, and even diseases between Europe, West Africa, and the Americas. Collard greens were loved in the southern part of the United States because other plants struggled to grow during cold winter months. In fact, collard greens were so resilient that they could survive through all seasons, but they generally thrived from around January to April. When enslaved Africans were brought here to the United States, they didn't leave their culinary traditions behind. They brought along the traditions and the practices of cooking collard greens. While their oppressors may have consumed select foods, enslaved people were left with the leftovers, which included the harder stems of the collard greens. Despite these tough circumstances, the enslaved Africans showcased their creativity by transforming simple collard greens into flavorful meals. The classic recipe included simmering collard greens slowly in a pot of water until they became tender with either salt pork, ham hocks, or turkey necks to balance out the tough texture and the bitter taste of the greens. Food historian Michael Twitty would state that many culinary historians agree that the green craze in the South is supported by the spring greens among Celtic and Germanic Southerns, but it was really spearheaded by people of African descent. The greens were then served with homemade cornbread, and the practice involved dipping the bread into the broth that remained in the pot, fondly known as the pot liquor. The liquor is the leftover soup at the bottom of the pot that was created from the extended cooking process of leafy greens or beans. After the greens have been cooked thoroughly, the nutrients will often seep to the bottom of the pot. This is basically the liquor that is left at the bottom of the pot. According to Southern wisdom, the pot liquor will cure what ails you, and if nothing ails you, it will at least clean you out. The connection between collard greens and African Americans is deeply rooted in historical and the cultural experience. The labor-intensive process of cooking collard greens involves cleaning, chopping, slow simmering often for hours with ham hocks or smoked turkey to amplify the flavor, reflects the strenuous hardships of African Americans and how they had to endure them throughout their history. This food preparation ritual is passed down through generations and is intertwined with stories of both struggle and success. Thus, the tradition of cooking and consuming collard greens has evolved beyond a cultural staple. Today stands as a symbol of both wealth and prosperity. This is especially true on New Year's Day dinners. Within the African American community, collard greens are served with black-eyed peas and hog fat on New Year's Day and promises to bring good luck and financial reward. Hanging a fresh collard green leaf on your door is said to ward off evil spirits, and a fresh leaf placed on your forehead promises to cure headache. During the Jim Crow period, many restaurants would not serve African Americans, and this led to them relying on home-cooked meals or food from black-owned restaurants, creating what we now know as soul food. This kind of cuisine was filled with affordable, nutrient-rich ingredients like collard greens, cornbread, sweet potato, and pork. As it was a comfort food, it created a sense of community during tough times. Soul food became an integral part of the African American experience. Soul food also played a vital role in church gatherings in the black community and helped spread the popularity of collard greens across the country. As a result of the awareness and appreciation, restaurants began to serve soul food classics like collard greens, pushing these flavors from niche family meals into the mainstream. During the Great Migration, numerous African Americans relocated from the agrarian South into more industrialized northern and western cities in pursuit of better jobs and a better quality of life. Amidst this unfamiliar territory and this new urban lifestyle came ready-made meals, but these African Americans carried with them their southern traditions. Their culinary practice of eating and consuming collard greens made their way to their new homes and provided them with a nostalgic connection back to their southern roots. It was like having a piece of southern tradition in a new, unfamiliar place. During the Civil Rights Movement, food played an important part and went far beyond just keeping people fed. Soul food suppers, which served collard greens, were a significant part of the African American community, and they served two important roles. Firstly, they raised money for the Civil Rights Movement. Secondly, these food traditions kept a sense of culture and heritage alive during a stressful, challenging period. Adrian Miller, the author of Soul Food as a Culinary Creation, explains how food was able to create a strong sense of belonging. Dishes like collard greens and fried chicken helped create a unified African American identity and was critical to the success of the Civil Rights Movement. However, some people did see collard greens in a negative light. They viewed them as a symbol of hardship and the bitter history of enslavement. A number of educated African Americans thought that soul food, which included collard greens, was not healthy or nearly polished enough. They tried to distance themselves from the traditional food and aimed to adopt what they viewed as a more elevated eating habits. Despite this, during the Black Power movement in the early 70s, the opinion of these foods changed once again, as foods like collard greens were now being looked on as a form of protest against oppression. These foods were a way of celebrating African American culture and racial pride, despite the continual attempts to hold back and erase an African American historical experience. Views on collard greens have evolved a lot since the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Power movement, and even though the reputation of soul food being unhealthy has lingered, changes have started to happen in how these foods are being made. For example, traditional dishes like collard greens have began to be slow cooked with healthier ingredients and less salt, and other methods like sauteing and stir frying were being used to try to keep the tradition alive while being considered more healthy. Today, collard greens have gained popularity due to their increasingly health-conscious individuals. They provide a high amount of vitamins A, C, and K, and fiber, as well as other minerals. Because of these beneficial nutrients, the African American community in particular has started to recognize the healthiness of collard greens and try to highlight the nutrient-rich nature of the greens to shake off the negative opinion that surrounds soul food as a whole. Collard greens are an essential part of soul food. It's a type of cuisine that originates directly from African American roots. From the Night Watch, which is an event that remembers the Emancipation Proclamation, to casual get-togethers, family gatherings, and other traditional holidays, collard greens continue to signify a symbol of African American history and heritage.
So, Rontel that. We are here celebrating family, fellowship, friends, and fair. That is the food ways, the fair ways that we're going to enjoy. And so we're going to take a break right now and come back and let y'all know. Thank you to OneMikeHistory.com. They're the ones to provide this excellent documentary with regards to our food ways. And so we're going to come right back. This is Rontel that, Our Black Media. We are back. This is Ron Tell That, and we are celebrating our fellowship, our family, our friends, our fair during this time of the year, because we have it in November, December, and January. We are doing it right now. And we say support the people who support us. That is Davis Johnson Bozeman Law Firm, offices in Savannah, Atlanta, and Statesboro. Kim's Cafe, 714 MLK Junior Boulevard. One Price Cleaners, located in the Farmers Market in Garden City on Highway 80. Chef Food and Gas, don't ride by, stop by. And so we continue. So I want to know. No, we're gonna find. I'm gonna ask that after. Let's just jump into this right here. We're gonna find out who got the best.
And Feast for Love Desserts and their connection to Northern Abolitionists, Thanksgiving, and the holiday season as a whole. See, Thanksgiving pumpkin pie was once the hotly contested battleground in America's cultural war. In the 1800s, pumpkins and sweet potatoes became a totem in the fight to abolish slavery in America. The introduction of sweet potatoes to Western Africa in the 16th century was a very slow process. Initially, root vegetables such as cassava and yams were preferred over sweet potatoes. However, after transatlantic slave trade, which helped spread the popularity of sweet potatoes in Europe and the Americas, it was only then that the African American community started using sweet potatoes because of their convenience. Western Africa is a yam-based culture. While sweet potatoes are not the same thing as a tropical yam, enslaved people embraced them as a substitute in the absence of true yam. Before they had sweet potato pie, they had something called sweet potato pound, which is a corruption of the Native American word for baked bread. Enslaved people were eating roasted sweet potatoes cooked in the embers of fire and started spicing and mashing up sweet potatoes. As they got access to cooking technology and equipment like ovens, they started adding pie fillings, and the sweet potato pie was born. After slavery was abolished, African Americans began to migrate away from the southern United States in what was referred to as the Great Migration. During this time period, many African Americans brought along one of their favorite dishes, sweet potato pie, and it was introduced to other regions of the country. During the same time period, during the early 19th century, eating pumpkins and celebrating Thanksgiving became synonymous with identity politics. Abolitionists and pumpkin enthusiasts and home economics pioneer Sarah Joseph Hale was the driving force behind the pro-Thanksgiving campaign. Hale campaigned for state-level Thanksgiving celebrations and was largely successful in the early 1800s, helping spur declarations for Thanksgiving in 29 states by 1850. But as the fight over slavery intensified and the Civil War loomed, people in the southern states began to reject what they saw as Northern cultural aggressions. The state of Virginia in particular wanted no part of Thanksgiving. In a letter to Hale, Virginia Governor Henry Wise, who was strongly pro-slavery, expressed his disapproval of New England abolitionist goals of referring to the theatrical national claptrap of Thanksgiving, which he said was used to encourage ministers to preach Christianity politics. Still, in 1863, Abraham Lincoln would declare the last Thursday in November as the National Day of Thanksgiving. Lincoln hoped that this holiday would serve in some way to heal the wounds of the nation and restore it. And since then, every president has kept that tradition alive. Still, some members of the Confederacy were unhappy with the Thanksgiving celebration and perceived it as a political move. They were especially unhappy with what they saw as a New Englander attempting to dictate how they should live. So for many years after the Civil War, Southerners refused to celebrate Thanksgiving and refused to eat pumpkin pie. It was not until after Reconstruction that Southern states began to accept Thanksgiving, and it wasn't until 1941 that Thanksgiving holiday was officially recognized in the federal law. So, in the absence of pumpkin pie, Southerners started cooking sweet potato pie made by formerly enslaved people. Pumpkin pie, despite its popularity, remained a Yankee food for many generations. It didn't gain widespread.
We are back. And I was going to ask the question, Who has the best sweet potato pie? Who has the best sweet potato pie? That's what I was gonna ask. I'll let y'all know. My mama can make sweet potato pie. Let y'all know that. But that's what happened in many of our families. We got the people in our families that do the best, from the best cakes, the best turkey, the fried turkeys, all that. Baked turkeys, all that. Who do the best dressing. From oyster dressings to cornbread dressing and all that. Because you got dressing, you got stuffing, so you got all that right there. And so right here, I have some swamp water. Swamp water. I couldn't get no sweet potato pie from Kim's Cafe, but I got me some swamp water. Now this next one is going to be a little controversial. Some people have some issues with regard to this right here, and so it is identified with black folks in particular. But I needed to make sure that people understand that this is not tied solely to black folks, that Asians, Caucasians also were involved in this fair, in this foodway right here. So again, I just gotta let y'all know it gets identified with us and people, because again, when you only put out the mythology and not the history, you don't get the full of it. And so I might go and ask, who got the best chitlins? Oops, I just let the secret out. Now, somebody might go and say Keisha Gibson Carter, but that's another story, another day, another time. So we're going to get in this right here, because some people, no, I don't eat chitlins. Okay, let's just be clear. I don't eat it, but we understand it's a part of some of the tradition. Now, our producer, our president, Julius Hall, he loves chitlins. He loves chitlins. He grills chitlins. He barbecue chitlins. He got it. So I'm just letting y'all know he loves chitlins. He's down with chitlins. So, but I don't eat them. I've never had them. So but that's like crackling and other stuff like that. So I probably had some crackling, but he like chitlins. And so we're gonna get in this right here. But again, don't think it's just tied to us. Other people eat it too.
Documented in the English language around the year 1400. It was spelled Chitterlings. Linguist Paul Anthony Jones pointed out that during the late 1500s, Chitterlings referred to a fancy type of neck ruffle. It's possible that the name came about from that frilly edges resembled the internal folds of an animal's intestine. The earliest origins of chitterlings trace back to the Middle Ages in Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom and France, where they formed an integral part of impoverished peasants' dietary repertoire. During this period, less desirable parts of the pig, including the intestines, were left for the consumption of the poorer classes, while the upper classes ate their choice of meat. This was a matter of necessity, as the idea of waste was not a concept that could be entertained much during the Middle Ages. During that same time period, cooking chitlins was a labor-intensive task involving washing, boiling, often frying before they could be consumed. They were often boiled with onions and covered in a sauce made from a broth. In 1743, the British cookbook entitled The Lady's Companion, or The Infallible Guide to the Fair Sex, included a recipe for calf chitterlings. This dish was essentially a type of sausage that contained bacon and offal, which is a variety of internal organs of an animal, all inside the casing of a calf intestine. The reason was given for using calf intestines instead of the usual pig intestines was because the recipe was meant for the summer, when pigs were not commonly slaughtered. This recipe was later shared by Arthur Hannah Glass in the famous 1784 cookbook, The Art of Cookery. Meanwhile, in Asia, chitterlings were adopted into local cuisine with a variety of preparation methods and seasoning, and in keeping in regional culinary standards. In China, for instance, chitlins had been cooked for over 1,000 years, and they were often used in stews, braises, and in stir-fries. While chitterlings were familiar to some cultures in Africa, they were primarily introduced to the diets of enslaved Africans in the Americas during their enslavement. The plantation owners would often slaughter pigs for their meat, reserving the premium cuts for themselves. The leftover parts of the pig, feet, the head, the heart, the neck bones, and the intestines were often given to the enslaved. Hence, chitterlings or chitlins became a regular feature on the tables of the enslaved. Unlike other soul foods that had a common lineage in Southern cuisine, chitlins remain strong ties to their African heritage. This connection stemmed from the West African tradition of eating all edible parts of plants and animals. These foods helped maintain the enslaved survival in the United States, and they were forced to rely heavily on chitlins because they were both cheap and readily available. To make the most out of less desirable parts, the enslaved will often slow cook or boil their chitlins, usually adding inexpensive vegetables. This was an effective way to get many nutrients out of the meat as possible. Even though their diet was mainly filled with carbohydrates, this process shows how enslaved people were resourceful in making the most out of a tough situation and provides their resilience and ability to create nutritious meals out of leftovers. The preparation of chitlins would then evolve into an art form. The meticulous task of cleaning, preparing, and cooking. The cooking method was often slow and designed to tenderize the tough meat and sought to enhance the flavor with already available seasonings such as onions, garlic, chili, and vinegar. These cooking methodologies witnessed an evolution over time was based on the ingredients that they had on hand or regional leanings, displaying the creativity and adaptability of enslaved Africans in the face of stark adversity. In the post-emancipation era, popularity of chitlins continued despite segregation laws, underscoring their cultural significance. Many restaurants serve chitlins as a part of their range of dishes, now referred to as soul food. Chitlins became a staple in many African American homes and often had a special place at the table during holiday periods such as Christmas or New Year's. This is not simply because it was delicious, but it's also because it carried a powerful message of hope, good luck, and wealth for the coming year. Chitlins was not only about food, but about family unity, which made them a favorite dishes at family reunions and community events. These occasions were a great way for older family members to show the younger ones how to prepare chitlins, thereby ensuring the tradition continues. Particularly during the Civil Rights era, chitlins found themselves at the heart of African American social gatherings, family celebrations, and festivals. Chitlins was so closely linked to Black culture that there was once an informal collection of entertainment venues mostly attended by Black audiences called the Chitlin Circuit. Today, young people have a wide variety of food available and may not feel as closely linked to chitlins. Some may view it as a symbol of poverty and wish to separate themselves from this aspect of their diet. Chitlins also would become associated with slave food. This happens because a person's wealth and social status was determined by the part of the pig which they consumed. Initially, the enslaved and later poor individuals often ate pig's feet, the stomach, or the chitlins because they were cheaper, but they also were physically lower on the pig. People with more means, on the other hand, generally ate the pricier portions of meat like the back or upper leg of the pig. And this is where the expression high on the hog comes from, because it literally meant rich people eating physically higher portions of the hog. Moreover, people were now paying attention to their diet and how that affected their health. Chitlins were known for their high caloric and cholesterol content and have been linked to health problems such as obesity and heart disease. These problems were prevalent in the African American community, leading many to steer clear of traditional dish like chitlins, comparing them to unhealthy foods and sugary drinks. Also, preparing chitlins is a extremely time-consuming process and not conducive to the quick-paced lifestyle that we now live. Tasks like cleaning intestines can take hours and it's challenging for families, especially working ones. Young people prefer a faster and more ready-to-eat meals. Chitlins also stir up discussions about identity and history. They're so deeply rooted in African American culture. Some view them as a sign of resilience and a way to stand up for social justice, while others view them as a reminder of the stark reality of slavery. While some people have distanced themselves from chitlins, others are exploring new ways to prepare and enjoy them. Chefs are inventing healthier recipes like using leaner pork parts or adding more vegetables and spices. They are even vegetarian versions of chitlins that are being developed using mushrooms or burdock root. In popular culture, chitlins often used as a nostalgic comfort food. For example, in the book of Color Purple, they use it as a symbol of the family's bonds. Also, Chef Carla Hall once wrote in her book about her experiences and the importance of chitlins in her family, especially during the holidays. She emphasizes their cultural significance and the family bonds that cooking chitlins help create. Chitlins are not just a food. They represent African American heritage and family.
Had a little snafu right there. Had a little snafu right there. And talking about chitlins. Did y'all hear them go and say that there's not even a vegetarian form of chitlins? There's a vegetarian form of chitlins. So that's why I had told you in the very beginning. We got alternatives to some of this right now. Again, during this time period. November, December, January, that we have our own twist to it, from if it's the bus tradition, the green corn tradition of Native people, that we're going to respect and pay homage to what we now infuse with these traditions right here. And we talk about sweet potato pie. Like I said, I could not get any sweet potato pie, but I got my swamp water. And as Queen Quest said, the first time she heard about swamp water was on Hilton Head Island. Hilton Head Island. Y'all call it something else. That there's a sweet tea, and lemonade. We put that together. We call it swamp water. Swamp water. Swamp water. Y'all got somebody else's name attached to it, but understand, coming straight from us, gonna get your people. So we talk about these foodways tied to us, our history, our story, and the connections and ties. So during this time period right here, that when you all get together, understand you're not there just for that moment, because that's that day off for some of you, but it's again for fellowship, for connection, rejuvenation, the rekindling of ties that bind us, going back to Africa to right here. And some of us get into the mythologies and all the other insanity, and that's for you to get into the insanity, but that's the work of the enemy. When I say the enemy, that is the person who seeks to oppress. They love it for us to not embrace our resilience. They love for us not to understand. No other people on this planet have experienced what we have experienced, but we are still right here. That's what we say. Uku Chuku, the children of God. We're right here. And our foodways, swamp water, sweet potatoes, all that right there, part of this American cuisine. You call it Hoppin' Johns, American cuisine, gumbo, part of that again, Rosella Sorrow, what do you want to call it? It all goes right back to Africa. And we say we eat everything, because all from plants and animals, as you all heard. OneMikeHistory.com is the one provide that great documentary. And so we gonna say that. So I got my swamp water right here. We say that everybody share the shows that are on Our Black Media. And so my mama make the best sweet potato pie. The best sweet potato pie, my mama do that. Mama Evelyn, bam, I throw it down. Evelyn is like that. But y'all know how it is in your family. You got that best person who do all of that right there, who do the best with regards to the fried fish, you know, the conch, the shrimp, all that, the cut. In fact, me and somebody tripping yesterday, people down in Florida, talking about how they used to eat the gopher turtle, the gopher cutter. The gopher turtle, and then also they got the cutter eggs too. And see, some of y'all laugh at me when I talk about the cutter eggs. We used to get the loggerhead turtles, but we said, like in Florida and right here, we can't bother them turtles no more because they protected. We gotta be about protecting us now too, also with regard to our culture and our history. That's what we do with Run Tell That and our other platforms and other shows here and our journeys. And so we say check out Hot 2100 Savannah, check out our radio station. We right here in the headquarters right now, but we say check us out, because we about preserving and maintaining our culture, not getting caught up into being like a leaf in the wind, but being that rooted tree with a history that's firm. And so just like they had said something, when we talk about the sweet potatoes, guess what? We call it potato poon. Whoa! Well, hold up. Once I threw that out there, some of y'all ain't never heard that before. Some of y'all did hear it before, and you forgot about it. Potato poon. Who know how to make potato poo? My uncle, who's not in the ancestral realm, he asked my mom about how you make potato poo. So my uncle, who was a chef, also a scientist, engineer, all that, an inventor, all that. My uncle Nathan, he asked my mama, how you make potato poo? And so she had to give him the recipe how to make potato poo. And see now, stalwarts within our community. When I say potato poo, y'all know what that is, right? Potato poo. Yeah. And see, that's in our families. Those culinary giants. Again, those people are legendary for us, and we need to uplift them all the time and celebrate them. And we celebrate our culture and history here on Run Tell That. And we say to y'all, embrace your families, hold on to them during this time period. It's not just about us just having a good time, but it's about us reflecting on our past, looking at our present, and going forward in the future. Because 2025 about to be here, and we're going to go forward. We're going stomping like the lions that we are and the elephants that we are. Just Run Tell That. And we say to y'all, share. Check out all our shows. The Rabble is coming up next. Peace and blessings.
Like this.